Maradona and Pele. Now, yes, you can go back and you can watch highlights, and I'm not denying that they were good players, and they probably were what people say, but I'm not bothered if you put them in a top 10 list. It's when you go into detail, and it's like, okay, there is clips. Yeah, Maradona ran through the whole of the England team in the semi-final. You can't talk about his game. You never watched them. You never watched them. Like, how can you go into the ins and outs? Yes, he might have been on this level, and yes, he might easily have shown up a lot of plays nowadays. And I understand eras are different as well. But how can you compare someone like Messi, who you probably have seen, to Maradona? Because with Maradona, all you're gonna have seen is his best moments. Now, maybe not so much his best moments off the pitch, but in terms of on the pitch, you wouldn't have seen bad Maradona clips. I don't actually think it's just a case of players who were there before we were alive. I think it's also the case now. Now, a lot of you will be probably Premier League fans, or at least support someone in the English leagues, whether that's a lower league or whatever. A common thing that a lot of podcasts do, obviously, you've got to spread out the ideas and stuff, and they want to try and show that they've got a bit of ball knowledge outside of the Premier League. So what they do is they do these World 11s, and they put players in from different leagues, not just the Prem. Now, I don't mind someone saying, well, when I've watched him, he's been good. I don't really understand how you can watch someone for a couple of games and then say, oh, well, I know he's definitely better than this bloke. Yes, we've got Champions League and stuff, but a lot of the Champions League games, okay, yes, it's split across 2 days in the week, usually when the Champions League is on, but that means you're catching 2 games, maybe 4, because, there's players slightly area one. You're not catching everyone, so how you can possibly have so many people in when the only chance you're catching them as well, you probably catch them like 2 or 3 times, and then, potentially maybe a couple more as soon as it gets to the later rounds. You'll talk about how good they are, but if I sat there and I said to the exact same person who puts those type of people into their World 11s, if I said for the Peles and Maradona as well, I never watched them, but I've watched his highlights, so he's going in my top 10. That person would piss himself at me. He would also piss himself or herself at me if I said to them, oh, well, I probably only catched about 5 games of this person a season, but he deserves to go in my World 11. And also, I can understand you trying to be different and putting people in from different leagues, to just so that you're not just going on the Prem and that you just Prem biased. But just be honest, it really annoys me when people sit there and go, oh yeah, well, I catch a lot of this person. How can you catch a lot of that person in a certain league when pretty much all the games in terms of league games in Europe are played on the same day? So you're telling me you sit there watching the 12:30, the 5:30 and all that in the English league, but you also manage to somehow catch the Bundesliga games that are on at the same time, the Serie A games that are on at the same time, the Liga games that are on at the same time. You're just chatting shit. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, fucking hell, Pedri, mate, he's on the same level as fucking De Bruyne or something. Do you know what I mean? You don't know that. You don't know you've watched him for like 5 games. Like, come on. So I've gone back through the editing, and at the end there, you've just saw that I've talked about Pedri and De Bruyne. Currently in this world, I can understand that Pedri is probably better than De Bruyne. First of all, I wasn't comparing him to in the current state. Obviously, I was talking about De Bruyne when he was at his best. My overall point wasn't even that, like, we should stop raving about Pedri or something, because, I rate him, to be fair. It was just that I find it kind of weird that someone can watch someone less than 10 times a season and yet laugh at someone else for not putting him in. Like, genuinely, yes, when you've watched them, they might have been great, but you haven't got like a solid basis to be able to actually laugh at someone for thinking someone else is better than